more stocks and buzzers that are in focus today. And for that, let's get on board Foram M.Chheda, who's the founder of ChartAnalytics on the technicals, and from our research team, we're joined by Ansh. Hi, good afternoon to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, let's get started with all the stocks that are in focus today, and what's really shining away in trade today was the metal pack. In fact, metal was a top sectoral gainer before FMCG pipped that one to it. Nifty metal was trading away with a lot of gains because Jefferies has come out with a note on metals and the mining pack. They're maintaining a constructive stance on the Indian metals. They're maintaining a buy on Tata Steel. They've raised the target price to 180 rupees from an earlier 165 rupees. JSW Steel, they're maintaining a hold, and again they've raised the target price to 920 rupees. Hindalco, they're maintaining a buy, and they've set the target price at 800 rupees. Now, the metal stocks, I feel, have outperformed the Nifty year to date by a good 15 to 20%. More, they have been driven by the optimism on the China recovery, the expectations of safeguarding the duty on steel in India, and the aluminium prices are holding up pretty well, which augurs very well for the steel and the metal pack. On the back of that, the entire metal basket was in focus today. In fact, it was a top sectoral gainer, but now that has cooled off a bit and has turned rather flat right now. So Nifty metal is still in the green, but has turned flat for now. But coming to you, Forum, you've also picked out Tata Steel for us. Now, more and more brokerages are turning rather bullish on as far as the steel pack or the metal pack is concerned. But on the charts, how does Tata Steel look to you?
Well, hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me on the show. As it has been, a lot of analysts have been giving a buy call. Now, technically speaking, also this year, if we see from the lows, this stock, Tata Steel, that is from 122, it had moved up to closer to 154 levels today. So that's almost more than a 25% return this year itself, and it's been a very good outperformance what we've seen compared to its leading index like Nifty. Now, since the stock price was consolidating initially, formed a base and had been seeing a good momentum, we have seen a lot of volume also along with the price moving up higher. However, from a very near-term perspective, who has been trading the stock or bought it at closer to a levels of around 136 can consider booking profits. But for long-term investors, it continues to remain a hold. Thus, for those who are looking to buy or have missed out on buying the stock, can wait for lower levels of closer to around 145 to look at entering into the stock. Overall, the stock looks bullish from a long-term perspective even now.
All right, stock looks bullish on the charts as far as even the long-term perspective is concerned. So it's a hold on Tata Steel. But coming to you, Ansh, you've picked out a name that was declining away almost 5% in trade today, and that's IndusInd Bank. A news coming in from the RBI. Tell us, what does the news say?
That's right. Actually, the stock was trading with a loss of 6% on intraday today. We have seen some recovery, but still it is trading with a cut of more than 3% now. And yes, RBI has granted only 1-year extension to the MD and CEO Sumant Katpalia, which is raising concerns over the leadership stability. CFO exit and leadership attrition add to uncertainty around the bank's strategic direction. Elara Capital has come up with a report where they have revised the rating to accumulate from buy. They have also trimmed the target price from 1,320 directly to 1,050, citing leadership transition risk. They also highlighted attractive valuation at 0.85 times of FY27 estimated price to book value, but caution on near-term uncertainty. Also, Nuvama Institutional Equities has also come up with a report where they have maintained hold rating with a target price of 1,115 rupees. They expect a transition to an external CEO after Katpalia and flag weak near-term earning visibility due to MFI pressure.
All right, that's the news flow that's really pulling the stock down in today's trading session. But Forum, let's come to you and talk about Reliance Industries, where even the brokerages are constructively turning positive. In fact, just last week we had a note by Macquarie that maintained an outperform. We also had Jefferies that had maintained a buy call on Reliance. Tell us on the charts, what are you seeing for this counter?
When we talk about a leading stock like a Reliance, now from the past 4 months, that's since November, the stock price was consolidating in a range of closer to 1,200 to 1,320. However, in the last few days, we saw that 1,200 levels were breached, and which was also like a psychological mark, and most of us were watching those levels. So it gave a breakout, but however, on a weekly closing basis, it did close almost at the support level. So which indicated that there is a potential for the stock to see a bit of a rebound. So currently, after forming its lows of closer to around 1159, we did see the stock price moving back about 1200 and formed a high of closer to around 1258. And now today we can see some slight selling pressure coming in, which from a trading perspective, one can consider booking partial profits. However, from a long-term investment perspective, one can wait for the levels of closer to 1200 to 1210, where one can look at buying the stock from a longer-term perspective. However, a strict stop loss should be placed below the levels of around 1159, which is the recent lows, so that the risk-reward ratio is favorable.
All right. Well, let's get back to the show and tell you all the stocks that you need to keep on your radar. And coming to you, Foram, then you've picked out ICICI Bank for us. Tell us what you see on the charts for this one. This counter, in the last 6 months has been in a slight corrective phase, if you will. Tell us from here on, how do you see the stock moving?
When we talk about a leading banking stock like ICICI Bank, one is that since December, the stock rate corrected nearly 12 to around 13% from the highs of 1350 to close to 1186. However, after it went below the 200-day moving average, but is now showing some kind of a stability or a base formation. We did see the stock price rebound again back to the levels of 1260, but it has been hovering, or we can say it's consolidating. This has led the stock to now move in a more upward sloping trend line and has been consistently taking support. So one who is looking to buy the stock can consider buying the stock from term perspective. However, the stop loss levels can be placed much lower below the levels of around 1186 that has been the lowest in the month of January, and can look for a potentially up move closer to around 1290 to around 1300 levels. That's more from, I would say, an intermediate perspective, the targets. As far as the volumes are concerned, volumes are average to now we can see a marginal accumulation happening, but an indicator like parabolic SAR has been indicating a buy. Thus, I am for the near term bullish on the stock.
All right, near-term bullish call coming in on ICICI Bank, but one stock that was doing pretty well in today's trading session was Lupin Ansh. You picked up that name for us. I mean, in fact, it was up almost 3%, has succumbed to that, selling pressure, is now, reeling under pressure of almost 0.6%, but positive news flow coming in there. Tell us what's the news flow.
That's right, Ankita. Actually, the Cipla has launched Rivaroxaban tablet, which is related to blood clot in the United States, and this tablet had an estimated annual sales of around $446 million in the US. Now, this is mainly to reduce the risk of major cardiovascular events in patients with coronary artery disease, and also to reduce the risk of major thrombotic vascular events in patients with peripheral artery disease, which includes patients after recent lower extremely due to sympathetic PAD. Also, if you see on chart, then stock seems to be giving a good up move in from last 2 to 3 sessions. So this is the reason why the stock is in focus today.
All right, Lupin in focus on the back of that drug launch. But moving on to another counter from the healthcare space, and that's Narayana Hrudyanalaya. Now, this is in focus on the back of the fact that Health City Cayman's Island, its wholly owned subsidiaries overseas, has entered into a joint venture agreement with 2070 Health Inc. Now, this and Every Hope Oncology Private Limited. Now, this joint venture agreement aims to establish and operate a network of healthcare centers in India, and specifically for the treatment of cancer patients with a focus on chemotherapy services. And it's going to be a 50-50 joint venture. And on the back of this joint venture, Narayana Health is trading with gains of more than 1.5% right now. But moving on to the next counter on the charts is Zomato. Tell us, Foram, what do you see on Zomato? Now, this one, Zomato has been in focus for a while now. In fact, for the last 6 months, it's down almost 20-odd%. Tell us from here on, do you see further downside to it, or do you see a reversal coming in now?
Well, I would say now the stock is showing some signs of stability, or from the fall we've already seen, like in the month of December, the stock price was nearly around touching 300 levels. And now in the month of January, in 1 month, it came down to almost 200 levels. So that was quite a steep fall that we've seen in the stock. However, after that, since then, I would say the stock price has been consolidating. It rebounded towards 240 levels and now has been in a sideward direction between 200 to around 240. and currently the stock price is trading at around 213. So those who have been holding on to the stock can consider holding, but a strict stop loss should be placed only below the levels of around 200 and can look for a rebound back again towards the levels of around 240. This is in a very narrow trading range, and hence it's more like a trading call instead of looking for a long term, because the stock prices remains below the 200-day moving average. Until unless it does not cross those levels of around 240, and yet we'll see some kind of more consolidation.
All right, that's the matter on the charts, and that was the last talk for the day. Foram and Ansh, thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us. But before we wrap up this